Greetings, YouTube. Today I'm reviewing the book Color, which is why my lights are on, because it seems really appropriate. This is by Victoria Finlay, and the subtitle is A Natural History of the Palette. And they're meaning a painter's palette. And the chapters are really simple for titles. Ochre, black and brown, white, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, and an epilogue, the end of the rainbow, with the preface being the beginning of the rainbow. So this is the story of one woman's research into where the original colors came from that painters used. The places they were invented, or we think they were invented, the places where you can still acquire some of the original types of paints, how they were developed. She even touches on the varnishes used by Stradivarius during the Orange chapter. And one of the persons she talked to, I thought really had a really brilliant insight into this. He doesn't think that Stradivarius used a specific varnish. He thinks he went to a varnisher, a professional that mixed paints and varnishes, and said, you know, that last varnish you sold me was really nice, but now it's June, it's a little more humid, could you tweak it this way? So Stradivarius was dynamically altering the varnishes for the product he was making, the type of violin, the wood, the size, whatever to have you, and the weather that he was making it under. And that some of the classic sound is just because the wood has oxidized for 300 years, and there's no way to replicate that unless you make a piece now and let it age for 300 years. So that this researcher felt that the varnish was less important than the age of the violin. Now, the varnish was important in the sense it helped preserve the violin to this time, but he doesn't actually think that the varnish was key to the sound of the instrument, which I thought was a very interesting insight, and it seems really logical to me. I can tell you right now, as someone that does, and I'm a junksmith, I'm a crafter, but you alter what you're doing with what you have and for the environment you're in. So why wouldn't Stradivarius have done the same thing? Why wouldn't have any professional have done the same thing? You don't do the same thing every day if that doesn't work every day. This is beautifully written. Each chapter is captivating. And it's a fairly good-sized book, 390 pages, I think. And it took me long enough to read it, because I only tend to read these nonfiction books at work and in waiting rooms and stuff like that. That it was like I was remembering the early chapters like they were books I had read in the past. And it was just so wonderful. The book has depth. And she does some severe globetrotting. To Australia, to India, to China, to, of course, numerous European countries, to Mexico. Just all over the place. All in research of colors. And trying to find how they were originally made and things like that. If you are an artist or you are an appreciator of science, this is a book that you absolutely must read. This is not something that you should ponder and contemplate. No. Get this book and read it. Because you will, if you're an artist, you will appreciate this from the technical and historical aspects. And if you were into science, you will love the research this woman did, the depth she was willing to go to. It was fascinating. It really was. The chemistry, the physics, the history, the globetrotting, the storytelling. All of it kept me interested for every page. At no point did I feel like I needed to rush through a chapter. Oh, I'm tired of reading about white. I wasn't tired of reading about white. I enjoyed reading about white. The green ended up being like the most dangerous color. Really, the original greens were friggin' toxic. But apparently had some great staying power. She talks about the way paints age, and that the paints that were laid down by some of the masters don't look anything like they do today as they did when they put them on the canvas. And in some cases they knew it, but they didn't care, because at that moment they wanted that particular color, even though they knew it was going to oxidize and change over time. It didn't matter. She talks about a purple that they make from a mollusk, that you just take the mollusk and you milk it and you just wipe it onto white cloth. And it turns green, and then it turns blue. And then if you get into the sun, it turns purple. And according to them, depending on the day and the level of brightness, time of day, you'll get a different shade. So the angle of the sun and the intensity of it will vary the color in the fabric. That's awesome! So, go read this, man. You're going to have a really good time.